We're posing a question, and it's a striking question. We hope it's not offensive, but it's an important question nonetheless. Are our church members too old?
Huh?
Dad, I don't know. I mean, I
What'd
don't
you
know how you
say?
feel. I don't know how you
I
feel
didn't
about that.
understand. Was that? Can you speak a little louder, please? What do you say? What do you say? We can't hear in the back.
You fit the category. You fit the category. And we're going to get to that here in just a moment, because there's a reason that we're talking about this. And of course, we don't want to age discriminate against anyone. And we love when all generations are a part of a church. We certainly don't want to push out all of those who are of the older generation. But there's some issues here going on in church life, sociologically and statistically and demographically, that I think we need to address. But that being said, we first need to talk about Upward Sports. And Upward is an amazing organization that helps you reach your community. They use sports, but this is really kingdom work. Now, the great thing about sports is it's not very controversial. Lots of people like sports. If you're looking for a non-controversial way to engage your community and engage your neighborhood, this is really the way to do it. So many churches say, how do I do outreach? How do I reach out into my community? How do I get children into my church? Guess what? Upwork can help you do all of those things. They engage families, and they get your church families engaging with neighborhood church families or neighborhood families and bringing everyone together through sports. They're also being very generous by offering a startup grant for $500. So
So
if you're
good.
like, is that real? It's real.
They really want to get all size churches involved. So this grant can help. Any church can be a part of it now. It's incredible.
It really is. Um, they're the world's largest Christian youth sports organization, but they also want to serve every size church, and they do it well. So go to upward.org/church answers. Again, upward.org/church answers. That's how you claim that $500 sports startup grant. They can help you get a league going. They do it well. They do it best. And I know that you will not regret starting a ministry with Upward Sports. So thank you, Upward, for sponsoring today's episode.
So
All right.
it's the type of question that raises eyebrows. But that's not our purpose in doing so. Our purpose in doing so is to ask a legitimate question. Are church members too old? And then the corollary is, what does it mean to be too old? And that's really what we want to address. Now, let me mention a couple of things. We recently released what you, and I will take the flattery, what you call one of our best resources ever, the Church Health Scorecard, where we explain how to go through 12 major metrics. We give video instruction, we give written instruction, and you basically can do a complete church health checkup with the Church Health Scorecard. There's only one metric that is done twice because I do it differently. In other words, one way is we're going to see how much you're putting into deferred maintenance every year. The other way is how much do you have total in deferred maintenance. Two different metrics. Why is that so important? Why is deferred?
Please tell us.
Well, because many churches are not able to keep their doors open because they can't afford to repair the things or maintain the things that they should have done some time ago. Therefore, it is called deferred maintenance. On a call yesterday with an African-American pastor, they took over that. He would not want me to say that. They adopted a church in their near neighborhood, a few blocks away, that used to be predominantly, as he said, Caucasian. And he said, Thom, we gave the church a look over, and yeah, we ended up adopting them. But oh my goodness, we've had more expenditures for their deferred maintenance than anything I would have ever imagined. I said, I can't imagine that the small church left you with the bill. And some of the members actually stayed, and they have about a service of 20 or 30 of Caucasians in a predominantly African-American neighborhood. But the African-American pastor just said, wow, I wonder if we had known how much we would have spent if we would have gone into this. He said, probably, but it sure would have been nice to know ahead of time. Now, what has that got to be with church members being too old? You know, We're talking about deferred maintenance. By the way, if you really want to find out something on deferred maintenance, get the book, the ebook called Deferred Maintenance by our friends at Church Growth Services. It's free. You can download that. Listen, if you don't think this is important, you're wrong. It's really important. So look it up.
We just spent $2.2 million on air
Air
conditioning
conditioned. But
because the projects were put off for decades and it all just piled up on us. Yes, this is incredibly important. If you don't want to spend millions of dollars on air conditioning units, go get this free ebook. How about that sales pitch?
oh, that's good. And the cost of it is free.
Free.
Free. Download it. It's called Deferred Maintenance. It is one of the most striking titles we've ever had for our ebook, Deferred Maintenance. But it is really rich in material. So why are we talking about deferred maintenance while we're asking the question, are our church members too old? And why did we mention the church health scorecard in the midst of all of this? Well, one of the 12 metrics that we use in the church health scorecard is age of congregation. Now we're getting back to the point where we can say that the age of church members is a significant first impression issue for guests. Most of the time, if you are out of sync with the community, you're out of sync because your congregation is older than the community. And basically, we give you ways to measure that versus the community. You need to get a demographic report. We always recommend know your community, the premier demographic psychographic report. But Sam, you can walk into a church. I used to walk into your church at Westby, and I was thinking, I don't remember what the average age of the community was then. But I just walked in. I thought, there are some younger families here, but boy, there's a lot of gray hairs or blue hairs, whatever you want to call them. And sometimes they congregate around a particular service. But the thing I was thinking is, it's going to be hard to make a statement that your church is all about reaching young people and young families without disregarding older families. If a family walks in and they just see a lot of old people, so the age of your church members is a significant first impression issue. Now your church has changed. I always am fascinated by the change in the median age of your church in the 8 years you've been there.
Yeah, it has been quite a journey. Now, the reason that it worked is because those who were older in my congregation were willing to make the necessary changes and even welcomed it, even if they didn't understand it, and knew that we had to make these changes in order for the church to survive long term. So we were able to do this, but credit goes to our older church members
You've
for
got
enabling.
some incredible senior
Yeah.
adults in the church. I know they're my peers.
Yeah. So when I got there, the median age in the community was 48, and our average or median church age in person in the church is probably 65. So we've always been older, but now the median age of the community is right around 42. So there's a lot more young families moving in. We're getting closer to the national median, and we'll probably get there at some point in Manatee County. So Florida's really, it varies by county when it comes to median ages. Sarasota County is very old. Manatee County is younger. Sarasota's to the south of us. But now 35% of our church is 18 and under. So we're actually younger than the community. So we've gone from being older, an older church in an older community, to being younger than the community as it even gets younger. It's quite a shift. Not every church can move as quickly as we did. We just had some people who were willing to do it. And now we have trouble finding volunteers for children's ministry because we have so many kids. And it's a really good problem to have. But it did take, I mean, I've been at the church 9 years. So it took us 9 years to make that transition.
What I see in the church when I walk in is not only a lot of young people. Of course, everybody looks young to me these days, but a lot of kids. One of the things you were intentional about is fostering and adopting, and that brought a lot of young people. And not only that, it brought a lot of ethnic diversity, particularly at the younger age. I see that more than I did.
That was the start of it. So how do you get kids in your church? Foster. get a bunch of people fostering in your church. It also meant that our families became multi-ethnic. And as we had multi-ethnic families, it attracted more multi-ethnic families. And we got younger in the process because the Spanish speaking population in our community, the Hispanics, generally are younger and generally have larger families. So it was not like any one thing was the catalyst, but I would say if there was a start to it, it was the fostering movement that was created in our church that led to becoming more multi-ethnic. I won't say we're a multi-ethnic church. We're not quite there yet. We're about 20-25% ethnic in my church, while the community is 45%. So we've still got a ways to go there. We're about halfway there if we want to match our community. But it was part of the process, and fostering was kind of the key to all of it.
So when you get the church health scorecard, the new resource we have, and you go to the part about age, there are a couple of things we want to say. First of all, it's more about the age of attendees than members. Members, I don't want to say membership is a meaningless term in many churches, but there are usually a lot more members than you can find in churches. Some of them may be in graveyards, some of them may be in other countries, but we always have a lot more members. It's attendees.
We have more attendees than members now.
Do you really? That's amazing. Because
Yes,
y'all cleaned your rolls too.
we keep a very tight membership process. So we make sure that everyone who's a member is active, and we have a process for ensuring that that's the case.
That wasn't always the case either, though. That's another thing.
No, oh no. Our membership, we used to have. No, it was funny that we did clean the rolls, so to speak, and so there was one that we went from like having 35,000 members down to like 500. It's just kind of this
A
transition.
little bit of hyperbole there.
It was in the thousands. It was in the thousands, and it was like not 5 figures, but 4 figures, and it's like this. Who are these people? And it was a massive project. We didn't just cut them off, of course. We didn't write them out of the Lamb's Book of Life. We made sure we followed up and did everything that we needed to do there. That's a whole other episode that we can talk about.
Oh, that would be a good one to go back to at some point. So what is too old? Well, first of all, you have to compare it to the community. That's one of the key things. Second of all, if you just want to know, the U.S. median age is 38. So 50% of the U.S. residents or population are under 38, 50% over 38. Haven't ever figured out where they go if they are 38, Sam, when you're talking about median. Or does the median skew to the right side or to the left side when you get that number? I never figured that out.
Well, it would be depending on birthday and, that the midpoint of 365 when you're 38. And the birthdays would go one way or the other.
Got it. Hey, by the way, this is a sidebar, but it is related. At Church Answers Central, which is our ongoing community, largest ongoing community of church leaders in the world, over 1,800 church leaders. We feature one every week. I love that feature of it. It's just we have very creative titles for things that we do, and the featured member at Church Answers is called the Church Answers Featured Member. Boy,
it's a great title.
The creativity that is there. And as we are recording this, the featured member is Michael Bergman. And I'm trying to remember where Michael is from.
Congratulations, Michael. You just got mentioned on the podcast.
But Adrian, this first Spanish. Anyway, I'll find it in just a minute. I'm looking through it. But Michael and his wife Stephanie have taken in foster children, and they've opened their doors and their hearts to 14 foster kids that they kept for a period. I bet you've had a lot too.
I've lost track. Honestly, people that count, I'm like, I can't remember. My wife might be able to tell you, but it's up there.
And like you, they recently adopted one of their foster kids. And so
and now we're a multi-ethnic family because of it.
Yes, exactly. So I just wanted to mention that as we were talking about adoption and fostering, tying that to the fact that that's what our community at Church Answers is doing. We'll put a link in there for Church Answers membership because it's a great place to be. If you're not there, you should be there. Now let's go back to this median age thing. What is too old? Well, when we do these metrics, the scorecard, we have red light, yellow light, green light. Of course, the meaning behind them is obvious. Green light, hey, y'all, it looked great. Yellow light, you got some cautions here. Here's what you should look at. But red light, there's a problem. What constitutes a red light in this metric? It is 13 years or greater older than the median of the community. So let's use an example. Let's do the 38 years old. 38 years old, median for the U.S. You really need it for your community, not the U.S. 38 years old. And the median in your church is 58, 20 years older. That would go into red light.
Which most churches are going to get a red light because your typical church member, it depends on the tribe. The Free Will Baptists are younger.
They're the younger ones.
Yeah, Southern Baptists are older.
Yeah.
Episcopalians are ancient.
Very old, yes.
Assemblies, maybe a little younger. So it depends on your tribe. But, typical church members are right around 60 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So most churches are going to get red lights because they're going to be in communities that are right around 38 being the median. It's a very serious problem. We're not at a crisis moment just yet, but we're getting there if we don't do something about this.
Yeah, and there's the other issue just of death. I mean, my generation is dying. My generation is going to heaven or elsewhere every single day. More than any other generation, proportionately. Builders may have a few more, but in terms of volume, we're the dead generation. We're getting in line. We're all dying. We're just dropping like.
You survived the 60s. That's all I got to say.
I did, but most of the people aren't surviving my 60s recollections about songs. They
may not remember the 60s, but they survived the 60s.
That's true. A lot of them do not remember the 60s. So we look at 13 years as that becomes red light, 13, 14, 15 on up. Why? 13 is considered half a generation, 25 years roughly a generation. This is past the half generation point. So your church is older by a half generation or more if it's in the red light category. So that's how we did it, Sam. And we have other yellow light, green lights. I'm not going to bore them. They can get the resource. It's available right now. It's a good resource.
Yeah. And we have a demographic report as well at Church Answers if you're interested in knowing exactly what the median age of your community is.
Yep. Let's know your community. And we recommend that you get it, not just find out median age, but because of a lot of information in there. We got a lot more coming. We have a Spanish report. I'm not going to give the preview of another report that'll be coming up in a few months, but it's really good stuff. Really good stuff.
Still working on it. Don't know if it's feasible yet, so don't mention it on the radio.
I won't. It's feasible. It'll work. Before we finish, why median instead of average? Put on your numbers hat.
Well, averages can be skewed by extremes. So, median is a better indicator of what's a typical church member.
Mm-hmm.
Because, if you have a segment that's really, really old or really, really young, it can skew the average. Median tends to be a more stable number.
This will be I think it was used to be called when it first came out, the $25,000 pyramid, but this will be the multi-million-dollar question. My church is too old. What should I do? How do you respond to that, Sam, since we get that question quite frequently? How do you make your church younger if your church members are too old compared to the community?
Well, you've got to go all in with reaching children, and there's several strategies to do that. Fostering is one of them. And by the way, you can foster if you're a baby boomer. I mean, we have people that do that in our church, or at least help out. You need to shift your resourcing to families. So one of the things that I do when I consult is I take the children's budget and the student budget, combine them, and compare it to the worship budget. And your children's ministry and your student ministry should be more than your worship ministry.
Ain't happening in most churches.
Not happening in most churches. So put your money where your mouth is. And then things like Upward. Like how do we get families on our campus? Well, do Upward Sports.
Absolutely. I mean, many times we gripe about sports. Oh, they're on the travel team. They're gone. They have to leave church. They can't come to church because they have a game on Sunday, late Sunday morning. Well, instead of fighting them, use that as a ministry outreach. You can start influencing them. I love what's happening at West B, Sam, because I go to some of my grandchildren's games and there's West B signs and the West B shirts that they're wearing because the church is actually sponsoring a team in the league.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's fascinating to see. Getting involved in the local sports network, whatever that is, or using Upward's a great way to go.
Well, there's so much more that we could say, but this is a question that we get frequently at Church Answers, in our coaching at Church Answers Central, and our consulting. Uh, is our church too old? And if so, what does that mean? And if so, what do we do about it? We hope we've answered at least on the surface level some of these things. Speaking of organizations that are reaching a lot of different ages, California Baptist University. They've been a sponsor for several months. Sam and I absolutely love California Baptist. You've heard me mention on more than one occasion that we were blown away by their campus, the beauty of it. We got to go into their new facility for basketball and other sports, and it was just top of the line. But they're a great academic school as well. And yeah, you can go on campus and you can join the mostly younger crowd that is there for on campus training. But hey, you can become a part of California Baptist even if you're in South Georgia. And it's online, sure, it's digital. There's nothing new there. But what is new is they offer courses every 8 weeks. So you can just come in and take a course, take a break, take a course, take two courses. And they started this when they understood that the tribe called Southern Baptists, only 20% of them had a bachelor's degree or more. And so they said, we've got to provide ways for these leaders to be better equipped and to provide them an education. So they do. They're doing a great work. They're reaching many people. They have a beautiful on campus, but they also have a beautiful digital campus facility through all these things that you can do online. So check them out. Go to cbu.edu. Check them out. You can see them in our show notes, and you can get that information. It's not cbu.edu. Let me correct myself. It is Cal Baptist, CalBaptist, calbaptist.edu. For some reason, Sam, I was thinking back to your days in high school, and I was thinking CAL. That's another story in itself.
Christian Academy of Louisville. That was my high school.
Exactly. Well, thank you again for being a part of Rainer on Leadership. Whenever you have an opportunity to listen to us, download us. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube or watching the subscriptions continue to grow, give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe there. That helps in particular. Some of you just like to listen to it on your favorite podcasting app. Take a few minutes and give us a rating and a review, a good rating and review, because we're offering this as a free ministry, and sponsors like California Baptist and Upward Sports, they're bringing this to you so you can have this ministry and this opportunity to hear what's happening in the church on an ongoing basis. As always, we appreciate you, the audience, for being a part of Rainer on Leadership. We'll see you in the next episode.